Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. This is the Collaborators Unite podcast. Chuck Anderson here, your host, and this is the show for what we call big impact experts. And that's you if you are on a mission not only to make money in your business, but you want to make a big positive impact in the lives of your clients, your community, or possibly even the world. And we hear all sorts of missions and all sorts of goals when it comes to what that impact is. But what we know about you is that you prioritize impact over profits, but we believe that you need to do both. And from time to time on that journey, you're going to feel like you are attracting the right people. Sometimes it feels like maybe we're repelling the right people, or we're having difficulty selling, or we're having difficulty communicating. And there can be a lot of challenges along the way, especially non-verbally. And so today I have an expert in not only nonverbal communication, but how do you use this knowledge to be able to communicate more effectively, drawing people into the conversation and enrolling more into your program. So I have Tatiana Teppoeva with me today. Welcome, Tatiana. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you, Chuck. It's great to be here. Hello, everyone.
We've had a few conversations about this, and I've been excited to share this with our audience. And I think a great place to start is tell everybody a little bit about you, like your background, and how did it come to be that you're this specialist in nonverbal communication?
Thank you, Chuck. It could be a very long story, but I will try to make it short. Originally from Russia, I was on the way to become a professor, but I always was curious about philosopher, psychology, why human behave particular way in a particular situation. Why in the same situation one person behaves this way and another person behaves another way. It was so interesting to me. And my manual when I was 16 was Dale Carnegie book, How to Make Friends. So it started back then my interest, but I went into economics, statistics, and things like that because I'm also a materialistic person, and those were better paid jobs at that time. And then in 2006, I immigrated to the United States and I decided to make a pivot. And instead of becoming a professor, I already had PhD by that time and taught in different universities. I decided to go and work for businesses to apply my knowledge in real business. And it led to 17 years career in tech. And I spent 14 years at Microsoft. This was my last employment, where I also took care of AI, research, and even managed to get AI patent. And then I decided to make another pivot, actually last year, when I was working too much on the data and got my second master degree from Harvard in data science and AI. And I was too involved in data and I was missing this human element. And I think I learned so much that I was ready for something new, for a new challenge. So I decided to start my own business and help people to answer questions that I still had from that time. I was quite successful at getting interviews, presenting in front of people, sometimes over 300 people. And as I mentioned, I taught at universities before. So I had this experience, but I didn't know exactly what worked. And I also felt that something was missing that I could improve. And I still have to. There was a few areas, but now I'm more knowledgeable and I know what those things are and I can help other people. So this really interesting time when we are getting so much into AI, automation, and even email can be scripted automatically, sent on behalf of us, received and replied. So much is going on. How we keep this human touch, how we present ourselves the way we would like to be perceived, right? Not only that we believe that we are smart and look like an expert, but also our clients, our audience thinks the same way. This is something that I help people to answer.
Amazing. And we're in exciting times right now because there's so many advancements in technology and AI is accelerating it at a pace that we've never seen before. And I really like what you said about maintaining that human connection. And we can I always think about using AI to augment what I really do very, very well, not necessarily to replace, some of the conversations and some of the communication that I have to do personally, but, how do we use it to do better? So I wanted to ask you, what are you noticing when you think about, some of the people who want to make a big impact, such as coaches and book authors and speakers who, messaging and communication is such a huge part of their business. And I do know many of them are using AI, so we definitely want to touch on the human connection part. But I want to ask you first, what are you noticing? What are some of the struggles that people are having that, may even be caused by mistakes that they're making or mistaken assumptions? But what are you noticing? Where's the struggle?
So one big trend that may be not so much applicable to coaches themselves, but to their clients, that over 50% of the companies right now using AI in their job interviews. So if their clients are looking for a job or thinking to upgrade or whatever, they may face this issue. And it's not only about resume scanning, like machine reading text. It's actually screening the presentation, how a person is talking, how they show up on camera, the gestures, and things like that. So it's nonverbal piece that we are talking about. Over 50% of the companies do it. And the problem is that AI is not that great at it. So if I was a performer and I could present myself confidently, and have less knowledge, I would pass potentially AI screen. But if I was someone very knowledgeable, but a little bit shy or stressed in particular situations like interview, I wouldn't pass it well. It would treat me like someone who is not confident, who will not be able to do leadership, even if it's not true. So this is a huge issue. And right now companies struggle because they cannot hire, they filter out many people first on resume screen, and then on AI screen. But also candidates are struggling because they're being filtered out, even though they have great skills that would be a great fit to a particular company. So this is one trend and it's not solved. And we can talk why this is happening. But another portion of the most common problems that I'm seeing that we would like, and inside we may even feel like we have so much knowledge, we are happy to share, but our clients don't feel it. And they don't feel it. Some of them may not feel it. We can talk about personality profiles, for example, personality types, or they may partially feel it. And it's because we are translating some signals that resemble lack of confidence, lack of expertise. Something may be irritating some people. So it's some unknown nonverbal signals that we are translating. And oftentimes people are not aware of them.
Yeah, let's dive deeper into that because that is something that I have observed. It's something that I have experienced. It's also something that I know others struggle with, where it's like, I feel like I've got so much to give. Why are not more people saying yes to me? And so perhaps that's even eating at their confidence somewhat, which then, as you're saying, could be non-verbally communicated. Let's talk a little bit about, what in terms of our messaging and the way that we're talking and how we, I love what you say, like, what are the people that are listening feeling? And I've often said this to the clients that we work with in webinars. They're so focused on the content. They're so focused on the data, or they're so focused on step 1, I do this, and step 2, I do this, and step 3, I do this. And there's no feeling there. And I read a statistic once that said, 90% of the people that you're teaching are going to forget all of that content within 24 hours. They're going to forget most of it, but they're going to remember how you made them feel. And so talk a little bit about that. Because I heard you say the word feeling and it just reminded me of that. And, in terms of how that maybe draws people in and, or potentially repels them based on how we're feeling or how we're communicating.
So again, and I totally agree. We definitely remember how it made us feel. And we oftentimes feel like, oh, I really like this person. I don't know why they didn't do anything special. They didn't say anything special, but I feel so connected. I want to be their coachee, right? Or their client or whatever relationship they may have. And can be the opposite. The coach is great, great credentials, great track record, right? But thank you, but no, right? Or I will think about it and they never show up. Or I don't have money, or I need to ask my spouse. So there are a bunch of reasons show up and they don't want to engage. So again, it's two sides. First, how we portray. It can be voice, it can be visual. For example, I say, I'm so good at nonverbal, and I raise my intonation. I even did it physically because I needed to force myself right now to show it. But oftentimes we can do it naturally. We raise intonation at the end, and it's instead of statement, we ask a question, and it's immediately lowers our confidence, immediately downgrades our authority in the eyes of our audience. Another one is how we show up. If I show up like that, right, or like that, it's very different from if I show up like that, right? And it's just a small change, the same person, same content. I even can do worse and can show you many small gestures that will change a lot how we are perceived. So this is one thing. So what we are translating specifically. The second piece, how we read the person. So if we have a cookie cutter script that we are going through with everyone, and we don't pay attention to what personality type they are, what their nonverbal signals are saying, we are missing out a huge portion. And I believe nonverbal communication, approximately 50% of what we are communicating, 50 verbal, 50 nonverbal, depending on the context and situation, etc. But it's easy, half and a half, to think about it. So if we are not reading, if we have an analyst client who wants numbers, who wants specific questions to be answered, but we talk about some abstract ideas, things like that, they are lost. They're lost. They are being respectful. They may not interrupt us, but they're not with us already. And the opposite can be true. So paying attention, seeing those signals that it's time to move on. It's time to give them option to ask a question maybe at this moment. Maybe to clarify something, paying attention to all those cues and adjusting, still having a skeleton of your script, right? The way you usually like to do it, but adjusting elements to each particular personality type or each particular individual will give much better outcome at the end, because we want them to be heard, we want them to be felt, so we feel their pain, right? So we can relate, so they can understand, okay, we are on the same page. She listened to me, he heard me. And this is when I talk about feeling. So this feeling, when we feel the client, is super important. And it's both ways. When we translate something and when we can read them and respond accordingly.
I love that. That is such great insight. And I can really relate to, some of the gestures that you're talking about. Like I see this one a lot on Zoom meetings, and, where they're listening and they, and there's different ways that people sort of show up. But I agree, like, especially when I'm presenting, I usually like to stand. I have a standing desk, so I'll raise up so that I'm standing when I'm presenting, because I'm more likely to, than to slouch into the chair and things like that. And, I find that to be really helpful. I think it's really important for people to hear what you're saying in terms of, how you are showing up is how you're being perceived on the other side. So we explored some of the mistakes, we saw some of the struggles, some of the challenges. What is your what are the things or the steps or the, top things that you want people to think about that can help them to improve the way they are showing up when they're communicating, so that they are being perceived the way they want to be perceived, especially for those of you who are trying to sell your coaching services? Are you communicating confidence? Are you communicating clarity? And so that that is what's being received on the other side. So Tatiana, what are your top suggestions there? Like, what should people be doing, to make sure that they're showing up in the right way?
Great question. And I will address one tip also that could be as a minus or a plus for us. And I actually listened to multiple coaches' presentations last week because we had a summit, and I observed this to be very common. So I will mention that one. But first, let's start about thinking about what audience and what format we are presenting it. Because if we are talk about this video format online, you can only see what 1/3 of me. Maybe if I stand away a little bit, maybe half of me. If I'm presenting in front of 300 people, They can see me all, but they also can see me from different angles. And we need to account for that as well, right? So if audience is not all up front, but from sides, we need to consider that as well. So first, to be aware how you're presenting. And I will tell you one story. When I presented in front of 300 plus students and educators at the conference, and the room they gave me, the podium was covering my body. The mic was completely attached to the podium. Who could think that nowadays you can have attached mic that wouldn't move with you? And the rest of the stage was covered by the tables. So I couldn't even do my job well. So I needed to find a way to show gestures because it was about presenting yourself, how to show up, bad and great things that we could do potentially. So I needed to step away, but then they couldn't hear me. If I stood next to microphone, they couldn't see me. So be aware of that. It was a great lesson for me. So going forward, I'm not only asking if there is a microphone and stage, but I'm also asking how covered it is, that I need to be able to show what I'm preaching. So be aware. Then if it's online format, we are paying attention to this portion, and we can potentially even hide some of these gestures like adapters some people use. Many of them, I had professionals who use 397 times of those adapters during 45 minutes of your presentation. So did you already get tired of these gestures that I'm doing? So I exaggerated it, but imagine 397 times during 45 minutes. Do you think she realized she was doing it? No. Oftentimes, our brain protects us from this information and we cannot even see it sometimes. So being aware of those gestures is very important. So how can we start without help from someone like me? We can do first is record ourselves, whether we present it or record intentionally. You can decide, you can do both. And first, I recommend watch without sound. Just see nonverbal. If it was not you, what impression would this person make on you? What is great about that and what would you change? Then, when you made your notes, listen to the presentation without any video and listen to intonation. Maybe there is a question at the end of the statement where it shouldn't be. Maybe there are some kind of. Maybe there are some other words that you are using excessively, or maybe they don't belong there. Make notes as well. And then third time, watch together audio and video and see. And most likely, in each of those passes, you will make note that the things that you noticed and noted are different because we change our perception based on what we hear, what we see, or if we see them together. And it's another point that each element of nonverbal is very important. So then when you have a list of those, you can already start addressing them, especially the ones that you didn't like. And next step would be to ask someone you know and trust. Just be careful who you choose for this role, to ask them to watch this video and provide you with feedback. And then you have an option to implement it or not. And finally, find someone like me and ask for a true assessment. I highlight what person is already doing great because oftentimes we forget about it. Each of us has something great that we already have and we could leverage more. And then I would point out some of the things that could be improved and highlight the top 20% that would provide most impact if person addresses them. So those would be my suggestions. But going back to the tip that I promised. So what I noticed from the video recordings, it was online presentations. What I noticed a lot, people wear glasses. First, many of the lenses are reflective. So when let me see if I have any. Mine are anti-reflective, I think. I don't wear them often, but you don't see, so you see reflection now, right?
It's up there, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So many people have reflection and oftentimes it's big. So you can't even see their eyes. So if you were my client and if I was talking with you with the reflection on my glasses all the time, does it make you comfortable? Like, is it really enjoyable to look into my eyes, to have eye contact? Probably not, right? Then some people do. They look like that. Is it comfortable? Some do like that. Some constantly change. So if you wear glasses, start with glasses because it's such a big distractor if it's not done right. So ideally, we don't want any reflection. we don't want to touch them many times unless it's necessary. It's also an adapter. Like I showed you this one, touching glasses, correcting it, just because it's also becoming annoying eventually to our audience. So adjusting this, if you can do sessions without glasses, if you don't need to read, it would be the best. So this is glasses can make us look smarter, some of the frames. So and fit our fashion style if we would like to. So there could be a big plus of that. And of course, they help us see better, but they can also be a huge distractor for our audience and take our attention away. And even this thing alone can already say, like, I'm so irritated. I don't know why, but it's irritating. And probably it's not going to work for me. And people often don't even realize what exactly caused this sensation. They just feel it subconsciously.
I love that suggestion, and I see that all the time. And it does take some practice to get the lighting just right so that it is not reflecting in your glasses. And I agree, it does take away from the message. If your audience finds themselves needing to turn away because they can't look, that's going to take away from how they receive the message. And to add one more, and maybe you can jump in on this as well, I see this too, where the webcam is in the wrong position. So either they're looking up here like this, or they are looking down here like this, or even worse, they have two screens. They're over here looking like this, and they're talking, but our audience is right there. And I'm looking at my screen, I'm looking at my wall, I'm looking down here, but your audience, especially online, is right there. It's right in the camera. What are you noticing there, and what do you recommend?
Definitely. I think, Chris, it was your suggestion to have something in the middle of the screen where you can position the camera. I actually even got this thing to try. I haven't tried because it's a challenge for me. I prefer to speak in person, honestly. And right now, I'm also moving between looking at you and looking at the camera. So this is challenge for many people. Some are just, but it's definitely going to the camera, so it looks like real eye contact, not just looking at the person. Sometimes it's not a big deal because it's relatively close. And eye contact, we don't try to make 100% of that. It's not natural. 70-80% of eye contact is great. So if we can stay about this number, it's already awesome. But if it's with people like me who have a challenge, then maybe trying to move this camera on some kind of hook or adjustment and put it at eye level. Completely agree with you, because if we look from the top down, it's maybe considered as arrogant, right? We are looking at them like, oh, you are a small one. I'm the smart one here in the room. If you look the opposite way, first we show our nose, and it's more our personal zone that usually people don't expose. We look at each other this way, not that way. And secondly, if we look at them, then we change position. Now they're the boss and we are the client. And this is not the situation we are in with them, right? So we would like something on the same level, so we are same, or a little bit, slightly, a little bit higher. So we show up as authority, but a little bit, not too much.
I love that. And yeah, I wish I could take a picture of it. Maybe I'll do that and put it in the show notes here. But to your point, my camera is on a tripod. It is positioned so it's in the middle of my screen, and then I've positioned the window where face is right above the lens. So I'm looking at you right now, but it also looks like I'm looking at the camera. And a great way to know if you want to practice by yourself is position that, look where you record yourself looking, and just notice, like notice, where do your eyes go? Maybe even take a screenshot of it so you can kind of see, like, where is it that you're looking at? Where does it look like I'm looking right at you? And where does it look like I'm looking at somebody else? So I love that. And that has nonverbal.
Yes, and if I can add, having relaxed face helps. So sometimes we are so tense because we are desperate, or because we want to help this particular client so much, or because we had something happen before this meeting, or whatever it might be. But trying to relax muscles so you can play, do some gymnastics, whatever it is, and just looking at yourself, smiling at yourself, I will do great. Yes, everything is there, what I thought about. I will think about that after meeting is over and trying to relax face and smile. Not overdoing it, but genuinely smiling, inviting person, and it changes perception at all a lot. It makes us more likable right away.
I love that. Tatiana, you have such great advice. And I want to, before we run out of time, give people a way to connect with you and to learn more from you. And I know that you have a gift that everybody can, it's a free gift that everyone can go and get. And they're going to learn more of your advice, more of your tips, and a way to connect with you as well. You want to tell everybody what that is? And I will make sure I put all the links beneath this video and in the podcast show notes.
Sure, Chuck. Thank you. I'm sure that your audience will find it helpful. It's a free guide on 5 nonverbal signals that shape how prospects and clients actually perceive us. So those are 5 main ones that they can start exploring and practicing right away.
Yeah, and I highly recommend that you do practice it right away. And if you're listening to my voice right now, there's no better time to go and grab that than right now. If you're watching this on video, just look beneath this video. Tatiana's link is right there. And if you're on a podcast, if you're listening on your phone, just open up the phone and the link is there as well. And there's no better time to do that than right now. Tatiana, thank you so much. You are amazing. I love everything that you shared. This is not a topic that we've covered on this show before. I look forward to more opportunities to hear from you, to learn from you. And before we sign off, I'm wondering if you have any just final piece of advice or words of wisdom that you can leave our audience here with today.
Thank you, Chuck. It was a pleasure to share insights with you and your audience. I would recommend to try watching recordings, audio and video and audio together, as I mentioned before, and also start observing people. When you start observing, paying attention to what nonverbal signals they're sending, including us with you right now, and at least start guessing. What did this cue mean? What did that cue mean? Then awareness comes to you and you start noticing what signals you are sending. Oh, I just did that. I just did that. Or intonation went up. And awareness already helps to move forward in this journey.
I love that. Great tip to end this episode by. Tatiana, thank you so much. I really love everything that you shared here today. And to our audience, thank you for being here as well. And if you're still listening to me right now, it means that this episode resonated with you. So the first thing I want to invite you to do is go and look beneath this video and get Tatiana's gift. Go and do that right away and start taking the next steps. And also, I want to tell you that on your journey to make a big positive impact, you are going to encounter challenges. You are going to encounter setbacks, but you might be just one collaboration away from a big breakthrough that allows you to make that bigger impact. And perhaps Tatiana is that person to collaborate with or to learn from. And so go and take that next step today. So remember, as you are on your journey to make a big impact, really the only way to fail is to quit. So keep moving forward and we will see you on the next one. Thank you.